Okay, so I've made my way to the location of what was Spandau Prison. I'm actually at the back of what Spandau Prison, or where Spandau Prison was. This used to be the gardens. You can see Albert Speer's flower beds, raised flower beds here. This is where he did his gardening. And just behind the supermarket trolley shelter there, and that lamppost is where Rudolf Hess had his summer house, where he did his reading and sat writing for 20 years in solitary confinement, basically, and where he committed suicide. So literally, just about where that tree is in the middle there is where Hess hung himself with his electric light flex cable. The trees, obviously, they would have been around in the day of the, in the 70s and 80s for sure. And the linden trees here that you can see in the distance, they were actually planted by some of the prisoners when they were imprisoned, obviously in the 40s and early 50s. So they're that old. So that's the perimeter of the prison. So it used to run diagonally down here, and that's where the prison wall was. And there was 5 guard towers, and as we say, it used to go up to there, where the prisoners' gardens, or Albert Speer's gardens, shall we say, but the prisoners' gardens were, and pretty much on that footstep of that, what they call Kaufland, which is like a, I don't know, a shopping, it's a bit like our B&Ms, I suppose. Right on that footprint is where the prison was, and I'll take you around now to show you where the main entrance was, and people used to access it. All these that you can see in the distance, and you can probably see from my drone shots, they were obviously ancillary buildings where the soldiers and the workers used to stay. But basically, the footprint that we're on with this car park and with this supermarket is pretty much exactly to the square foot, to the foot of where the prison was, Spandau Prison. So it may seem a bit weird coming to a supermarket when I'm not shopping. I've come how many thousands of miles to get here to have a look around a car park. But I suppose there's a method in my madness somewhere. So I walked the perimeter. There's a guard tower sort of centrally there where I'm pointing the camera at, and then there was one in this corner. And as I turn the corner, there's one in that top right corner there. I'll show you. So I've turned the corner. I'm now heading up the right-hand side of the supermarket, or the prison, if you were. These buildings were here back then. Obviously the prison closed when Hess died in '87. This is the perimeter wall where this fence is, and there was a bit of a no man's land, or a bit of a road behind the wall. And up in this top corner there was another lookout, armed guard, 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365 days a year for over 40 years. What an absolute waste of resources. Okay, I don't know if you can see that building there now. It's a health building. That wasn't there. That was the main entrance, and I walked round to the front of the road on the main road, and I'll show you the front of that. So that's where the main entrance was. So what I'll do, I'll put a picture up so you can get your bearings. So that's the main entrance. These buildings were here. And obviously, use a bit of imagination, that was where the prison was, exactly where that building was. It did stick out a little bit, and there were some sort of ancillary buildings connected to it, etc. But basically, that's what we're looking at. Before I go around the front, just over here was the British Army camp. And I don't know if you can see it, but basically just behind this building, the big red brick building there, I'm not sure if that big red brick building was part of it, but just behind that was where the army camp was. That's where the British army camp was. So they didn't have long. When they changed the guards every month at Spandau, they didn't have that far to go. And obviously this was in West Berlin. So this was the British sector, if you like. During the war, not during the war, but after the war, the British Army set up their main base in the Olympic Stadium, which is not too far from here. And then after the war, obviously when it was the four allies, they set up, or there were several across Berlin, but one of them was just here, and this is where they used to use to man the troops, to look after Hess for 20 years on his own. I think it was about 40 guards, and then other people as well, obviously people, cooks and people doing laundry and all that stuff, those ancillary people. But some of them lived around, or most of them lived around here, but the army was just down there, just down that road there. Okay, we've come to the front of, I want to keep saying the front of the prison, but where the prison was. So this is the main road, so this is where everybody came to access the prison. This was, the pavements were the same, pavements haven't changed since it closed, since it was knocked down. Now, where this medical centre here is, that was the main entrance. So basically built over the main entrance. So, if we can imagine that the entrance to that health building was the main entrance to Spandau. So all those black and white pictures of depression and despair, that when you think of Spandau Prison or what that brings to mind, you normally see the front entrance, which was like an old arch building. That's exactly where that was. Well, just behind that building is where it was, but that was the main entrance. So the road used to run from this road, take a right here, basically through the main gate, up the driveway, into the main gates of Spandau. And as we said, right behind is the supermarket. So that's a new building, obviously, because that was the main gate and the main driveway, and buildings either side, they were here back in the day, back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, up until 1987, when Hess died and the prison was demolished and all the forces were able to stand down. We'll continue our walk up past the main gate. We're still at the front of the prison. Oh, I keep saying prison. Still at the front of the building of the supermarket. There's a security building there now. Obviously that was all ancillary buildings for people that worked for the prison or had dealings with the prison. I'll take you in to the right hand side of the supermarket, and this would have all been fenced. This was where all obviously the perimeter fence would have been, and there was another lookout 24-hour manned gun post, turret, lookout, whatever we want to call it, just around here as well on this side. So we'll go back in around. These are those linden trees that we noticed from the car park. So they were, again, planted round about, certainly when the prisoners were here. And if you can use your imagination, that's where the wall ran all the way around. All the way. We'd see the front, if we were looking at here back in the 40s, we'd see the front of Spandau jutting out just about there. And there we are. Completely changed, obviously for the better. I'm going to grab a taxi back to the hotel, but for now we'll just walk along the what would have been the front of the prison. And there's the health building there just in front of us. Obviously, as we've said previously, that's the main gate and the main drive up to the prison. And then right in front of it would have been the main exit. So we'll walk past the main entrance, I mean. So we'll walk past the main entrance, coming up on our right, past all the red bricks. So a lot's changed since 1987. Back in to the main car park of the supermarket. And I'm going to find myself a taxi.